This is the facelift of the Ram 1500. So, it's a full-size US pickup, right? Yeah, check. It's got a huge cabin, check. It's got a huge tray, check. It takes up 2 parking spaces, check. And, of course, it's got a dirty big petrol V8 engine. Not anymore. The world has changed, folks. This car is now a 3-litre twin-turbo straight-6 engine. And what you all want to know, because it's what I want to know too, is it as good as the V8 or is it a waste of time? Well, let's find out. Okay, so under this plastic cover, there is, believe it or not, a 3-litre twin-turbo inline 6, as I was saying. Now, the old 5.7 was a real honey of an engine. Everyone who ever drove it fell in love with it, but we've moved on. We now demand more in terms of fuel economy and lower tailpipe emissions for our vehicles, and this is the Ram solution. In standard form, this engine puts out 313 kilowatts. In high output form, 403 kilowatts and 707 newton meters, which completely trumps the old 5.7 Hemi. Now, I've got a bit of a drag strip set up over here, so I'm going to go do some 0 to 100 runs. I know what the 5.7 used to do. Let's see what this car does and see if it is worthy of the Ram 1500 tag. Of course, we could talk about engines under plastic covers till the cows come home, but what does that really all mean? And in the case of this vehicle, it means a truck that goes like a sports car in a straight line anyway. Let's find out. Boom, that's 100 kilometers, 0 to 100, and I'm showing 6.16. Now, I can tell you that the old Hemi 5.7 was about 7.5 seconds from 0 to 100. So this thing already is nearly 1.5 seconds quicker, and this is the standard output model. Let's go and try the high output. Okay, sports fans, we've had a quick costume change, and we're now back with the high output version of the Ram 1500. And we'll see what it can do, 0 to 100. It's got an interesting setup where it's almost a 2-step, but if you can load it up on the torque converter, it really gets away smartly. Like that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. 5.58, nearly 5.6. That is going some for something that weighs, I don't know, the wrong side of 2 ton. It's almost like a bit of a cartoon, the way it gets going for something this big. So let's take it out on the road now and see what it's like in the real world. Okay, so the drag strip is one thing. What's this thing like on the open road? Well, the first impression is that it's a pretty luxo experience. The ride's really good. And this is the basic car, which is not on air springs. It's on steel coils, and it feels really plush to me. The other thing is that it actually doesn't feel as big as it probably should. When you stand beside it and look at it, and it's got its own postcode, you think, well, this is going to be an absolute monster to drive. But look, I won't exaggerate. I wouldn't say it actually shrinks around you, but it never feels as big as it looks to drive. The steering's actually pretty nice. There's a bit of feel, which is not something you necessarily expect in some of these bigger trucks. You know, a lot of them are quite remote. And this one actually feels like there's a direct connection between you and the front wheels, which is always great. I think for a long distance car, it's going to be magnificent. For towing, it's going to be pretty good too. I think, and I keep coming back to this with all these things, the limiting factor is, can you live with its bulk in the suburbs? Will it actually fit in your garage? Will it actually fit up your driveway? That's the real key to this. And it's something that I've said about pretty much from day one. I've said it about all these things. If you buy this car for the right reasons, it will serve you very well. It will do what you want. If you're buying it as a fashion statement, you're on a hide in the nowhere. It's very quiet too. I can hear a little bit of wind noise and a little bit of tyre roar, but it's pretty subdued, and I'm on a fairly coarse surface here, so if it was ever going to be noisy, it'd be now. And it's actually, the refinement levels are, you know, not kind of what you expect from A, a truck, and B, an American-built anything. I mean, they've really got this thing engineered to the point where it's really refined, and I think a lot of that is down to the quality of the right-hand drive conversion, which is done right here in Melbourne. And the cars are brought in left-hand drive. They're completely pulled apart. The cabins are pulled off, re-engineered, changed over to right-hand drive, and then reassembled. But you would never know it. This car is I'm going out on a limb here, I know, but I wouldn't mind betting that once it's been converted and reassembled, the quality of assembly is actually higher than from the factory. And that's really saying something.
So, having answered the most important questions, what about the rest of the facelifted Ram story? Well, let's start with what you pay and what you get. The Ram 1500 range now kicks off with the Laramie Sport, which costs $141,950 and gets your kit including 20-inch alloy wheels, a dual panoramic sunroof, full connectivity, all-wheel drive with a bitumen four-wheel drive setting, very good for towing, dual wireless phone chargers, reversing camera, leather trim and heated and ventilated seats. And as always, you can check out the full details in the written review at carsguide.com.au. Meantime, move up to the limited model and you add 22-inch alloys, a larger fuel tank, air suspension and the more powerful version of the new engine. So it's quite a jump up in equipment for the extra 18 grand and takes the price to $159,950. But even despite those price tags, there's still some stuff missing, we reckon. They include paddle shifters, an electronic adjuster for the steering column and a head-up display. The Ram also misses out on the latest trailer hitching and monitoring tech too. The 1500's facelift is marked externally by new front and rear fascias and grills and new headlight units. But picking the Limited from the Laramie Sport is pretty easy, as the former has a specific bonnet for a more aggressive look and lots of blackouts on the grille, mirrors and other exterior fittings. Funnily enough, even though it's the less expensive version, we reckon the Laramie Sport is probably the classier looker of the two, thanks to the bits of bling and chrome dotted around the exterior. But Ram is pretty clear about the fact that the Limited is not just a pickup, it's actually a high-end performance car, and that's one of the reasons it gets the more powerful engine. That's also why it loses 300 kilos of the Laramie's towing capacity. A sports truck then. Up front, the Ram 1500 is spacious and gives off a quality feel. The huge central screen can look pretty busy when all the icons are displayed, but it's no more difficult to decipher than any other modern high-end vehicle. The lack of an electrically adjustable steering column seems strange in a premium vehicle like this, but that's down to the fact that in its home market of the USA, the Ram is a workhorse vehicle first and foremost. Equally strange is the decision to leave the indicator stalk on the wrong side of the column, and the rotary gear selector is located strangely also, but you will get used to it. There are no less than 3 USA and 3 USB-C charge points in the front cabin, and a pair of each in the rear.
If you've ever sat in the back seat of a standard dual cab like a Hilux or a Ranger or a D-Max, you'll know that they are no place for a full-sized adult, not for any length of time or over any distance anyway. Now, this truck, however, is set up for a fairly tall driver, and I'm no minnow, and I've got tons of room here. Foot room, leg room, headroom, you name it. And the seat itself is really comfy. The backrest, unlike a lot of utes, is at a sane angle, so you're comfortable. I'd be happy to go interstate in this thing in the back. The panoramic sunroof means it's nice and light and airy, and there's a heap of charge points and air vents. Everybody in this car, everyone in any of the 5 seats is going to be perfectly happy to go anywhere, and that's something you can't say of all utes. One of the reasons you pay the money for a big US-built pickup is because it's big. And the tray is huge. I mean, it really is. And it's kind of clever in this case too. It's got a spray-on liner so it doesn't get damaged. There's a cargo barrier so you can sort of divide off the luggage area and not have things sliding around. There's very good, solid, low-mounted tie-down points in each corner. And this top rail here has adjustable tie-down points for higher loads. Very clever. There's a tri-fold soft tonneau, which is a nice touch, although to me it seems a little bit fiddly to use, and some of the weatherproofing on it or the weather sealing looks like maybe the apprentice did it. I'll let him off for that. And because the tailgate on this car weighs about the same as the whole car that I learned to drive on, Ram has thoughtfully added a one-touch automatic function. But the thing I like about this vehicle the most, in fact, my favourite part of the vehicle is this. It's a tub with drain holes. It's made for ice and cans. Ram calls it a Ram box. I call it the drinks cabinet.
There's no rule that says car makers have to publish a fuel consumption claim in a vehicle like the 1500, so Ram doesn't. On a gentle highway cruise at the car's launch, we managed to see a fuel consumption figure in the 8s, but that's about as good as it'll ever get in a Ram 1500. In the real world, expect to see closer to 11 or even 12 litres per 100 kilometres, and that won't be in urban running. Throw a big caravan on the back and you might get close to doubling those figures. With the Laramie's 98 litre tank, the low figure equates to about 800 kilometres of range, while the 125 litre tank in the Limited should get you closer to 1,000 kilometres between fills if you're game to trust the fuel gauge's accuracy. But it's worth pointing out that the Laramie is happy on standard ULP, while the extra boost in the Limited means it needs premium. And with that giant fuel tank, each time you fill the Limited from empty, you're going to be spending between $250 and $300. The Ram 1500 gets most of the usual driver assistance packages, including autonomous braking, intersection assist, and a driver drowsiness alert. But if you want all the safety fruit, you need to option up to the Limited, because that's the version that also gets traffic sign recognition and a surround camera system. Because of its weight and classification, there's no requirement for Ram to crash test the vehicle, but if you know anything about physics, the sheer size of the 1500 compared to anything else on the road with less than about 18 wheels suggests it might be pretty safe in a car-to-car shunt. The full story is at carsguide.com.au. Here's where Ram could do with some catching up. The 3-year, 100,000 kilometre warranty is a match for Chevrolet Silverado's warranty, but lags well behind the 5 years of both the Ford F-150 and the Toyota Tundra's factory cover. Service intervals for the Ram are every 12 months or 12,000 kilometres, and there's no cap price servicing.
So here's the bottom line. This car was always a facelift, okay? It's not a new model. It's not completely new in that sense. But it is important as a facelift because it does introduce this new engine. And, you know, what people were really afraid of was that they're taking our V8s off us. You know, was it Charlton Heston that said they'd take his gun from his cold, dead hands? And that's how people were reacting to losing their V8. But really, if you drive this car with the new inline 6, you soon realise that there's really no trade-off. You are going to get improved fuel economy. You are going to be killing less dolphins, and you're still going to have a lot of fun. I mean, it's a faster vehicle than it ever was. The real test will be when we put a trailer on it and tow something heavy with it. So I'll make no comment on its abilities to do that because I haven't tried it yet. But trust us, we will at CarsGuide. And when we do that, we'll then have a better picture. But at the moment, if this is the future, then the future looks reasonably bright.